Good afternoon, Madam President, and good afternoon. Imagine a $1.5 billion working and middle class tax cut. Imagine a direct property tax deduction or a $2,000 income tax deduction for every child in your household. Imagine an income tax cut for this year, retroactive to January. Imagine that you only pay for the cost of electricity on your electric bill. Imagine a 30% reduction in your health care premiums to provide true affordable health care to middle-class families. Well, all your imaginations could have come true had our Senate Republican budget been adopted. But let's not talk about those imaginations and what could have been. Let's talk about what the Republicans did do to get our ideas into this budget. To start, both House and Senate Republicans offered balanced budgets that were vetted by OFA, something that hasn't been done since I've been here. And next, the fiscal guardrails, which were included in the 2017 compromise budget and bipartisanly adopted at the beginning of this session, remained intact and were honored with the budget that we have before us this afternoon. Third, it was Republicans in the House and Senate that started talking about tax cuts in the first place, going back to January of 2022, albeit for sales and gas tax cuts. But the fact was, we started that conversation, we had a conversation, and we reached bipartisan compromise to provide those tax holidays, and resulted in sales and gas tax all last year. Fourth is the income tax that we proposed in our budget adjustments last spring, both the House and Senate Republicans. But today, it is in the budget and will provide much needed relief to working and middle class families. And just as we insisted in the 2017 compromise budget, seniors will also experience income tax relief on their pension, annuity, and IRA income. Again, and just as we supported in 2017, we support investment in education, particularly special education, and this budget accelerates the ECS formula funding across the state of Connecticut. We also recognize the partnership of the state of Connecticut with its nonprofit providers and the people that they serve. Without their services, their sacrifice, and their willingness to live beyond themselves, the state would not be able to provide and deliver quality human services to individuals and families in need. It was our Republican budget that increased funding to nonprofits by 2.5%. In addition, the budget increases residential care home rates, doubled the asset limits for TANF families, and sets aside $8.5 million for medical debt erasure. What I did find disheartening in the budget, unfortunately, was the process in which we lapsed the $30 million LIHEAP fund. I warned in December that this could happen because at that time, we didn't change the eligibility rules. So families that needed additional care, needed the heat for the winter, went without and were left in the cold. The people that take advantage of LIHEAP are our seniors, our veterans, disabled individuals, and regrettably, poor children. They went without despite a fully funded line item. Now, unfortunately, in the budget, the money is going to be lapsed. And it's going to be used for such things as an unidentified DECD grants, a reserve fund to pay for state employee salaries, a tax deduction for business expenses for cannabis companies. We have families desperately in need of assistance who are going in the cold and were left out. Although I am going to support this budget, I still hear their voice and will continue to advocate for them as we go forward. I'm also disappointed in the process that resulted in the implementer that includes many bills that didn't either get out of committee or passed one chamber, not another. And the legislative process works best when we have a robust process. We need to hear every voice and opinion on every bill, and it's through that crucible that we get better policy. It's through the different perspectives and their participation that policy improves not only the debate, but also the policy and the product. In that manner, the bill will survive on its own merit. Now, our state, I think we all agree, has tremendously benefited from that last 2017 compromise budget. It was through that shared power that resulted in many, many good policies. Policies like the fiscal guardrails that has resulted in a historic rainy day fund that has paid down pension debt. It's through the spending cap and the bonding cap that we were able to do this, and it has worked for the benefit of Connecticut's families, and also has resulted in things like the ECS formula, which has improved education for all children throughout our great state. And so while this budget may have some deficiencies, it does include a number of good ideas, ideas that we fought for: a permanent and broad-based working and middle-class income tax cut, income tax relief for our seniors, an increase in education funding, and partnership with our nonprofits and the individuals and families that they serve. At this time, Madam President, I would like to thank our governor, Ned Lamont, for his steadfast adherence and insistence on the fiscal guardrails and his belief in broad-based permanent tax relief for working and middle-class families in the form of an income tax cut. I would also like to thank his administration, particularly his Chief of Staff, Johnny Dock, Matt Brockman, and OPM Secretary Jeff Beckham. I would like to thank them for their willingness to work with our caucus. I would also like to thank Senator Looney and Senator Duff, as well as Senators Fanfara, Austin, Martin, and Berthel, for their willingness to have the conversations and put in the sweat equity and effort to work together that has resulted in this collaborative budget. I would also like to acknowledge our Republican Senate staff. Everyone in our staff pitched in, not only with our budget, which was a Herculean effort, but I'd also like to acknowledge Christian Spencer, who put in countless hours, most recently till 2 o'clock on Sunday, to make sure that we were informed, understood what was going on, and without our staff, we wouldn't look as good as we do. So thank you to our Republican Senate staff. So while this budget may not be perfect, our ideas and the ideas that we have with regards to a historic tax relief, adhering to the fiscal guardrails, funding for education, and nonprofits are. And for those reasons, Madam President, I will be supporting this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Kelly. Will you remark?